So, in about the 9th controversial thing to have come from the Angel Reese podcast, this one is the first time I've seen even the Caitlyn haters. I'm not even going to call it, because look, one thing I do like about like fans of any, whether it be individual athlete or individual team, that are completely ride or die, like the ride and die Angel Reese fans, this isn't going to be irrelevant, but even the Caitlyn Clark haters that are de facto Reese fans, end up being like are now calling out this, because if you guys did not see, Angel Reese, I can't even find, well, I can't, the tweet's been taken down, but Angel Reese invited the baby to her podcast. Seeing some things where it's like, Angel does not seem like a horrible person. She's just young, gonna do dumb SH1T. But at the same time, be smart about who we platform. As the baby being cancelled and you're allowing him to use your platforms for some quick clout that he doesn't effing deserve. And yeah, honestly, some of the things are crazy. Dio McDonald's having the baby in the show. Best friend making transphobic comments about Caitlyn on IG post. Will offend every time. Dear Lord, no, not reading that. Not reading that. So, to be fair, and this is one of the horrible things where it's like, whenever Angel Reese messes up, like young people tend to do, the comments go so badly. But I do want to say that there is a double standard set when it comes to, like, again, when it comes to some of the things being said about all these players, it's all wrong. Like, some of the stuff being said about Angel Reese is so wrong. And again, some of the stuff being said about Caitlyn Clark has been so wrong. Heck, even by Angel Reese's, like, best friend, some of the stuff, like, that she said about Caitlyn Clark was, like, so wrong. But I think we have to at least have this conversation where it's like, one, again, people can mess up, but two, we got to stop not even judging people. We got to stop judging people by the actions of people, not even the people are around them, which is the maddest thing, because it's like, Caitlyn Clark has been blamed because Dave Portnoy is a fan of her for not calling out Dave Portnoy. Has Caitlyn Clark ever spoke to Dave Portnoy? I have no idea. Possibly. But like, again, is this Dave Portnoy? I don't know anything about Dave Portnoy. I just watch his pizza reviews. That's it. I know he set up Barstool Sports, and I know his pizza reviews. I don't know or care about Dave Portnoy. But apparently, because Dave Portnoy said, he was like, he had dinner with Caitlyn Clark, and obviously, as the conversation went on, there was a massive dinner where a load of people were at it. Caitlyn Clark was at it as well, and that was obviously where it came from. And Caitlyn Clark's getting, these idiots are trying to cancel Caitlyn Clark because Dave Portnoy is a fan, and then it's such a big deal with that. Or when Conor McCaffrey's brother says something, Caitlyn's boyfriend's brother says something bad about Angel Reese, and suddenly it's all Caitlyn Clark's fault. And they all stick together. People like that all stick together. That's what Caitlyn Clark thinks like. But then, obviously, Angel Reese's best friend has said some wild stuff about Caitlyn Clark. Like some of the 100 times worse things was said about Angel, from, not in general, but from Conor McCaffrey's brother, and it's no issue. So there is a massive hypocrisy there. And like, I actually have no issue with Angel Reese doing this. I think that the baby is a big name. Like, he is a big name. And we can be honest here. If you're going to be having if the target audience that you want for your podcast involves you bringing on a lot of like rappers and stuff as your guests, the likelihood of you having someone that has done something in the past as a guest, or will do something in the future that might get them cancelled and be a bad look on you, is high. But I don't really have an issue with that, because there are a lot of podcasts that have guests that maybe you're not fans of, and like, as much as people saying that's a bad look, I think I don't have an issue with it. But again, there is the hypocrisy when Charleston White went on to Jeff Teague's podcast and said wild stuff, so out of pocket stuff about Angel Reese. And they started blaming Jeff Teague for that. and saying that like it was Jeff Teague's fault. Jeff Teague's just literally on the podcast, by the way. It's not his podcast. It's not unapologetically Jeff. It is not his podcast. He's just on the podcast. And they blame the player who is just like, on the podcast because of a podcast guest. And because the podcast guest said something negative about Angel Reese. And now when the shoe's on the opposite foot, when Angel Reese is a podcast guest that really shouldn't be, and it's likely that this is going to get cancelled, the tweet was taken down pretty quickly, then it's like from these same people, it's crickets. And look, I always live by this. You're not responsible for the actions of somebody else. And as much as you can argue it's a bad look, Angel Reese having him on her podcast, like there are plenty of podcast people that have had much worse guests that nobody has called anyone out about. We can be honest here. That's just the fact. And in fairness to Angel Reese, the podcast has been wildly successful. Wildly successful. But it is one of those issues when you're giving a young person, when you put a microphone in front of a young person who, while extremely successful, is still young. Like, multi-millionaire, but she's still 22 years old, or 23, well, she'll be 23 soon enough. She's still 22 years old. So, there's going to be mistakes. Just like, again, the WNBPA can suggest a lockdown. Angel Reese basically threatening a strike. It's not a good place to do it. Like, a podcast is not a good place. Just like when Sue Bird, when they're talking about CBA, leaves the room when she's on her podcast. Like, it's like, look, I'm one of the owners. I can't talk about this topic on a podcast. That's where a little bit of age and a little bit more experience comes out. But like, I'm sorry, people are allowed to make mistakes when they're young. And having a guest that 100% would bring in viewers, but obviously may be a bad person. I don't even know what the hell the baby's done, but the way the reactions are, you would assume it's pretty damn bad. I don't know what he's done. And regardless, there's a different, like, it can be a bad look, which it is, to have a guest like that. But young people are going to make mistakes. And I don't think, especially if her and her team gets on top of this and just doesn't release the podcast, then cool. Like, and they've at least seen, and the amount of people are like, oh, they're just caving to the backlash. And it's like, well, yeah, if there's a huge backlash and, you know, maybe nobody in the chain of like between all the producers, people finding guests and Angel thought there was anything wrong when they saw the backlash. They're like, yeah, maybe we messed up. And admitting you messed up is a big thing in life that people just seem to never want to do. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't think this is that big a deal. Like, I'm having to talk about it because it is basketball news, and like, let's be real, the drama stuff gets more views. It gets more views. I literally made a 13-minute video talking about how the Connecticut Suns coach, his system is going to be nearly impossible to run with their current personnel, and an international free agent that I think could slide in perfectly into their system. Made a 13-minute video talking about that, and nobody watched it. But I can guarantee you more people are going to watch this. So for anyone saying just talk basketball, no one freaking watches the basketball stuff. Unless it's about Caitlin Clark or about Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, or Paige Beckers having a bad game. So anyway, I'll see you guys.